This episode of the Better Two podcast is brought to you by Kitty Mystic and Needom, author of My Days with the Dark Muse, as well as Love is Worth Waiting For. Hi gang, Donna here. Today I have the pleasure of welcoming back a friend of the show, CerVon Campbell. CerVon and I talk about his new music. We talk about, overthinking. We talk about how his life has kind of changed direction since the last time we talked. While he's still doing music, he has other priorities now. And he has priorities in mentorship as one, but he's also become a teacher. So we talk a little bit about that. And yes, we go back into the waters of Marvel and DC Comics too. And we talk about TV shows. So hopefully, my friends, you enjoy the show just as much as we had fun talking about it. Hi, CerVon.
Howdy, how are you?
I'm all right. I think this is the fourth time you've been on the show. Something like that, either
I
third or
think so.
fourth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in those numbers.
Yeah. So you're officially a friend of the show at this point. So how's things? It's been, wow, I think about 8 months since I last talked to you.
It doesn't feel that long. It's been really good.
Good. Good. I see that your single again hit 360,000, downloads.
What did?
Again.
Yeah,
On
how many?
Spotify. 360,000.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
That's really cool. No, I didn't. Wow.
It's on Spotify. The other ones aren't bad. I mean, you got 48, so I mean, it's not bad. But I mean,
I'm hiding from the numbers now.
Oh, I get it.
I used to be very analytical and be like, I had this many streams today, this many listeners, this many, like, all that stuff. But I kind of stepped away from it. And that's cool.
But it kind of brings us back to you talking about that, because I mean, I understand as an author, I'm waiting for those reviews to come in. But it kind of goes back to your song Overthinking. What precipitated Overthinking? I mean, I understand overthinking way, way too much.
I have this weird thing where I want, like, people that listen to my music to kind of understand me. So I feel like it kind of keeps us together. I got really into TikTok, and with TikTok, I built I don't want to say a fan base. I just built really close relationships with everybody that followed me, and we were all going through the same thing. So I wanted to make a song that was exactly how I was feeling at that time, which was so I thought that would have been like a good thing. Overthinking is like my most popular song now, and I thought it was awful. Like, I did not want to put it out. I think that's really cool too.
But see, that's the thing, though. I mean, basically, when you overthink something, we devalue our own work because it's not quote unquote perfect. It's not the ideal, and it's because we get in our own way because we are told what should be perfect.
Exactly.
And so then we overanalyze and overthink and go, well, this isn't good enough to put out. I mean, I know that recently I finally put out my third book, and it's like I've worked on this book for 3 years because I overthought it. I kept changing it and kept moving it along. So I get the overthinking process. And I'm sure as a musician, it's the same thing. You come up with a song, you think it's going to be great, and then you start overthinking.
Mm-hmm. I overthink the fact that, like, I always wanted to make, I was always wanting to make songs that I was like, people are going to like this. This is popular right now. Maybe I should try to hit this, target, this sound. And then that wouldn't work. And then I would make songs like Overthinking or new stuff I'm working on that's a lot more artsy and weird. And I kind of want to follow that direction. So yeah, it's a messy program.
Well, I think part of it too comes from the fact that we have to be true to our passion and true to who we are. I mean, I listened to Cautionary, and you have two different mixes, and they're very different. And Cliche, it is more artsy, but is there anything wrong with it if it's what you want to make? Ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter how many people you listen to your music, if you're making something you don't like, and then you have to go out and do it and perform it publicly, is the passion going to be there?
Not at all. I can speak from experience where I had songs that was just constantly feeding like depression into me and negative thoughts into me, and I just had to do it over and over. So it really takes a lot out of me.
That's one of the I just well, Friday will be the episode when it launches, and this will it'll have already aired. But I talked about why I stepped away from the podcast. This is season 7, and the last episode dropped in January, and I'm not releasing until September 1st, the 7th, season 7. Why the delay? I was burned out. I could listen to some of the older podcasts, not ones with you, but some of the ones near the end, and my passion was gone. And I was going
Hmm.
through the motions. And if you're doing that, whether it be singing, podcasting, writing, whatever, if your passion's not there, people are going to know.
Yeah,
And
it
then,
doesn't have like that authenticity, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of leave what they do, because you kind of get to a point where who is this for? That's what happened to me.
and that's definitely the thing. I mean, I've had people say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't put that in that book. You shouldn't do it that way. You shouldn't do it this way." And it's like ultimately, if I feel that my character needs to do that, who am I writing this for? Me or for somebody, one person that may not be my audience forever?
Hmm.
And with your music, the one thing about music is sometimes older songs are rediscovered and then they blow up. And if you have that passion for it, even, 6 years from now, it's still going to come across.
Yeah, and that's been happening to me. A lot of my older stuff are kind of kicking up. Songs that I was like, that I really thought and believed in just kind of fizzled out. And I realized these aren't the songs that I should be, focusing on when I'm performing, because they're not really doing anything for anybody. They're kind of following a formula. And I've always stuck true to, like, I want to mix genres and stuff. But like a lot of my topics just didn't sit well with me. I feel like I wasn't being true to like what I really had going on. So that's why I got to a place earlier this year where I thought I was done with music. I put out a song Confused, and I was like, this is my send off. This is my goodbye. Because it kind of just after that didn't really feel anything.
But did you get pulled back in?
I got pulled back in because I started coming up with more ideas, because I always thought CerVon Campbell as an artist was, mental health. I always wanted to make something like it was like I started out making music because I was depressed, and then when I started to feel good, I was like, I don't really have nothing to talk about. So I didn't want to make like club songs or fake love songs. I just kind of hit a bump where it's like I think I'm done. That, I ran my course. Now I'm good. So I kind of that really fizzled me out. So I put out Confused, and that's what Confused is about. It's like it's not much to do but be confused. I made all of my music. I don't feel that way anymore. Now I don't know what else I'm supposed to talk about.
But then when you look at the bigger picture of what's going on in the world, is a lot to be confused by just in the world
Hmm.
in general. So it's like, how is your depression now? I mean, is that doing better?
Yeah, I feel like I call it like I say sober. Like I've been sober from depression for maybe like a full year now, maybe more. Like I don't know, like I think it was like this time last year, late last year, I got to a point where I don't know. I think it was about November of last year, I would say. Somewhere around there. It just clicked for me where it's like I have been like kind of playing a character. I'm trying to fit in where I don't belong. I really wanted, attention. Not just attention. I wanted my music to have attention. I wanted a voice. I wanted to, do something, but I didn't know what it was. And I quit music. I started working. Like I was like, this isn't for me. I don't want to be a writer anymore. So I got a job. It was like the best job ever. I already kind of had the job, but I really dove into the job and picked up a lot more hours and made it like my focus. Then I got another job and made that my focus, and I worked both of those jobs, and that really just gave me so much life. Where I thought maybe music just isn't for me, and I still have. I had ideas of stuff I still wanted to try and avenues I still wanted to kind of touch on. So I still have new music coming out, but I'm not marketing. I'm not like posting like, hey, come listen to my new song. I'm not really doing a whole lot because it doesn't feel like I should. Like I don't feel the need to keep going, having, oh, I have this many listeners and doing it. The flexing and the want for attention just doesn't feel like something I want to do anymore.
Well, and that in itself can lead to depression because if you're
Exactly.
constantly trying to do this hustle of look at me, look at me, look at me, and what happens when you get the big bump and then you don't get the big bump, then your mood totally tanks. And this
Mm-hmm.
happens in the world of social media. People get the big bump, they're known, and then there's nothing. So at a
Yeah,
certain
losing
point,
a lot of stuff.
yeah, at a certain point, you have to either decide I'm going to market all the time or I'm going to accept the success I get.
Yeah.
So you've kind of settled into music's a hobby now and you're living a normal life.
Like I still write for people. I made it a way where I wanted to focus on like helping other people. So like I put everything into a studio and I wanted like any artist, whatever your budget, I'm gonna help you do whatever you want to do. If you can't afford it, we'll figure it out. We'll work through it. I'm not looking for money. I just want to help. So I've been setting up shows here, letting artists come perform. Um, I'm still like recording artists, like, I'm not really charging, but it's still there. I still have shows that I'm committed to. I have to perform. I still have a tour lined up, but I still like I'm a teacher now. Like I teach. I teach at a middle school,
Nice.
and I also work in foster care. And doing that kind of makes like music seem really irrelevant. So I still like work in music, but I consider it as I have three full-time jobs.
Hmm.
Like I'm a youth pastor now. Like I'm kind of everywhere. I'm trying to maximize whatever I'm doing.
But working with children, you're going to get some kind of benefit. You're going to get some kind of, and it's not. I'm trying to think. It's not the benefit of kumbaya or look at you, or it's the fact that you're helping somebody. You're helping somebody grow.
Exactly.
You're helping somebody form their thought process, and maybe even possibly, especially being the mentor for the musicians, help them follow their dream.
Yeah, I feel like I would say my show ended. Like my season finale went off with like I'm better helping other people, and I feel like I'm better as like going. I look at my life as a show. I've always have. So it's like my season finale is going off where I'm no longer the main character, and I like playing a secondary role. I'm really comfortable helping other people and like I'm mentoring at the school. I don't know, just like knowing I can help somebody feels really good. And that's what the whole purpose of music was for me. I wanted to connect with people who were feeling how I felt. And now it's kind of like music is naturally just running and it's doing well to where I'm not needed. So the new stuff is still gonna come, but I keep pushing it back. Like my plan was to start releasing music in August. Now it's looking like end of September, October.
Like I said, 3 years it took me to write a book. So I understand. I had dates with editors, I had, deadlines to keep, and I blew every one of them because it
Yeah.
wasn't right. So I get it. And I'm actually glad I had you back on. I mean, I reached out to you because I like talking to you. And the one thing I'm trying to reformat the show with is people on their journey in the entertainment industry. And your journey is perfect because we talked about you working with John Oates and we've talked about the struggles you've had. And here you are. It's transformed. Your journey has transformed into a different realm. And while you're still doing music, I have to ask, are you doing any stand up? Sex monkey limo driver, that's always going to be there.
Yeah, I did a few shows and
Mhm.
worked on some new material. But then I had like a blast of like, I don't really care what people think right now. And that was the best time to make the songs that I have coming, because I always wanted to like I always tell people I make niche music. And I was always like, it's kind of weird. But in my mind, I was like, it's a weirder direction I want to go that I'm scared to do. So like, I canceled every show, everything I had going, and kind of isolated myself in the studio. So I kind of pushed stand up to the side, kind of pushed it off, because I really thought if there's ever a time to just really dive in and do exactly what I want and make exactly what I want to hear, now is it. So I kind of put music in the forefront.
Okay. So now that you're going along, and I mean, this time we're actually having a pretty serious conversation. Every other time we've kind of goofed around. Now that you're going along, is the relationship still good? Or, is the rest of your life doing well?
Yeah, my girlfriend, she was basically living with me, but she would still go back home. Now she's fully living with me. We have the best, perfect balance. I feel like I really had doubts that moving in would help. Like I thought it would be more negative than positive, but it's been a lot more positive. And that's great. I had my dad all wrong. Me and my dad have a really good relationship now. All of my relation, everything right now is going really good to where I'm nervous because it's like, it shouldn't be going this good.
But you see,
It's a little weird.
that's that overthinking thing because we grew up always trying to, I would say, I don't want to say off balance, but in a way it is off balance because you never knew how the adults or what was going to go on in your life and how you had to react.
Right.
And so that kind of leaves you off balance and leaves you to this. I used to say all the time, it was like every time I turn around, and my husband would say, quit turning around. Because it was like every time I turn around, something happens. He's like, then quit turning around. But it's that thought process of how you were raised as a kid. If you were constantly in trauma or everything's perfect and then boom, trauma happens, you never knew, do I enjoy the happiness? Do I enjoy the good stuff? Because something else
Right.
is going to happen. And so you have to, as an adult, it's trying to get out of that hyper awareness to
Right.
settle in and go, okay, it's all right. I'm not going to have to worry about everything changing again.
My realization was I kind of got to a point where it wasn't anybody, like I don't need to impress anybody. I have the people in my life that I'm good with, and I always kind of bottled up the amount of hate I have in my heart. And now I fully release it. And it's like I hate everything and everybody. But like not that I'm showing it, but it's like if I care, I really care. So like me with school and me and all that stuff, I love it to death, but I still have so much hate to give. So it's like I don't know, I'm just being whatever. I'm not overthinking. I'm not scheduling stuff. I'm not planning stuff. I'm just kind of letting stuff happen, and it's been really working for me.
You're still having that Samuel L. Jackson Black Snake Moan moment.
Yeah, that is me.
And you're wearing a white T-shirt, so at least it's not a white beer.
I have the face, the eyes wide open, the hate in the face. That's me, but I mask it well.
So since we're talking about that, did you watch Secret Invasion?
I did.
And were you
It
as
could have been
disappointed?
so much better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, were you as disappointed as I was? Because I was pretty disappointed in it.
It could have been so much better.
Yeah, yeah. I was disappointed. It was just kind of like, is it over yet? It could have just been miles better, but
I got to the second episode, and the second to last episode, and my thought was, what am I waiting for? Like, what is the buildup? What is going on? Like, there's nothing going on. And then when they like said that Rhodey was a scroll, I got so mad because it's like obviously he is, but if you're like, how far back are we finna go here? It was a lot of stuff that kind of didn't sit well with me. Like, what's the point? But my new thinking of stuff is maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Somebody else is gonna enjoy it. Like, that's how I felt about the Barbie movie. I thought this is okay. This is pretty solid. I'm not the audience. I'm not the demographic. This is for somebody else.
I actually have not seen the Barbie movie, and I have a whole Barbie collection. And I know it's not related exactly, but yeah, I have not seen it yet. I haven't gone to the movie theater since before COVID.
What? You
Yeah,
gotta go to the movies. Oh my god, I go like twice a week.
yeah, I know.
Go to the
But
movies. I love. That's like my favorite thing to do. Me and Kay, we have the Regal Pass, the unlimited, so we go like all the time. We keep trying to go now to see Liam Neeson's new stupid movie. That movie looks so dumb, but we're gonna go see it.
I usually tend to watch things now on streaming services.
But what do you do when you run out? That's what we run into. We're
Um, I
out.
I go to the library and pick up a DVD if necessary, or
I
I
really
don't
thought
have.
you was about to say a book. I was about to call you a nerd so fast.
I have a whole collection of books behind my
Oh,
head.
I
Of course,
forgot
I
you're a
wrote.
writer. I forgot you're a writer.
That's right. I'm a
Anytime
writer.
somebody said they like to write, they like to read books. My
Look,
instinct go nerd.
I don't read as much as I should, but I'm going to be honest here. When I was a freshman and sophomore in high school, I was a member of the library club. And my
Nerd.
in my senior year, I was not only a member, but the secretary of social studies club. So like I'm
You
a
know,
hardcore nerd.
I have my nerdy quips and stuff because Marvel, DC, superhero, all those comic book stuff. I know every detail, so I can admit my nerd
But
stuff.
see, that's not nerdy anymore.
That's geeky.
Neither is Star Wars. None of that's nerdy anymore. Back when I
No,
was
it
growing
still
up,
is. It still is because I feel like I'm the outlier. Like I have autism very heavily, but you wouldn't like see me and assume that. So I kind of mix out. So when it comes to comic books and stuff, when I go to like Comic Con or I go to like the Marvel movies, I don't look the part because they look like nerds. This is the bully in me talking, but they have that nerd look where it's like they're dressing up and all that stuff. I'm not that guy. That's nerdy. But I do have it inside of me. I just mask it very well.
we
But when it
all
comes to reading, nerd. That's nerdy.
well,
I'm a hater. I have dyslexia, so I'm a hater.
okay. I mean, but that's the thing. Sometimes I've been told I have just slight dyslexia. It's come up a couple of times in when I've been working, but for the most part, I'm fine. But it's like it's something you've lived with and you don't notice these things. You just keep going. It's like autism now. They're diagnosing a lot of older people with autism, but yet it was never something that was talked about in my
See, I was
generation or
like,
prior generation.
yeah, we weren't allowed like depression and emotions. We wasn't allowed to deal with that kind of stuff. Autism and dyslexia. I didn't realize nothing until I got to college, and they were like, "Hey, you having a problem reading?" And I was like, the way I read is like weird. And certain times I have to highlight certain words to kind of focus in. And some words, when certain letters are together, I just can't see it. It just doesn't form for
Mhm.
me. So like I was talking to one of my teachers, and they kind of I took a test. I have dyslexia, but I've always had sensory issues really bad. So like my autism is kind of on and off. So and certain stuff like me and Kay have not necessarily arguments but disagreements because I don't feel certain stuff to really understand how other people would take it. So I might be coming across very mean, but I won't realize it because it doesn't feel like a mean thing to say or do, if that makes any sense. So I have to catch myself with a lot of stuff of, around it. But I mean, for the most part, I'm kind of, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm hypermobile, which a lot of people are like, what's hypermobility? But I used to get teased when I was even after high school that my legs bent backwards, my knees would lock backwards.
Me
And
too. I'm not, was it not needed? Yeah.
Well, they call it hypermobility. That's the proper term. And if you can do certain things like you're not supposed to be able to do with your hands and whatnot, that's hypermobility. Well, it turns out that most people with hypermobility now, they're saying is on spectrum. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Well, we don't know, but we're just letting everybody know.
Mm.
So it's like, so you're on the spectrum, and then you sit there and think, okay, well, look at how you've functioned with other people. Is it nurture nature or is it this? And it's a very big thing to unpack. And it's like the more we diagnose people with autism or ADHD later in life, does that change things? Does that change how we view people's behavior because it was never diagnosed in the first place? And this isn't a medical show. This is just us BSing. But, I mean, it's an interesting thing because I've never thought I had it, but somebody's like, well, I'm like, okay, whatever. So, but it explains why when I was working at my insurance job, I would go into my boss's office, I would present him a case, and I would sit there and give it, and he's like talking about it, and I'd get my answer that I needed from him, and I'm already on to another file. And he's like, how do you do that? I'm like, what? He's like, you're 2 files ahead of me, and I'm still working on the other file, and you're already ahead of me. And I'm like, I just do. My desk would be a total disaster. I'd have stacks of paper all over the place. He'd come back and go, so can you find, I need this email I sent. Do you still have it printed out? I'm like, yeah, hold on. And I would go exactly to the pile and find it. Now, is that autism? I don't know. Is that is that OCD? I don't know. But it's one of those things where this is how we act. This is how we just learn
Mm-hmm.
how to act. So does it have to have a label? I mean, I guess that's the
Some
whole
stuff
question.
I feel like anytime somebody tries to diagnose me, like I have a half sister that took one course of psychology and now she knows everybody's everything. So anytime people try to diagnose me or like call me out about stuff, it's like mind your business. It makes me mad actually. Like mind your business. What does it have to do with you? That's my first go to.
But a lot of people I know that as soon as they start taking psychology and they're trying to study to be a psychologist, they go there. They will start going there about looking at everybody in their life and starting to diagnose. And I mean,
I
again,
just told somebody that somebody was talking about they're in there, they taking sociology and all these ologies, and the first thing I can say is if you try to bring any of that information this way, I will curse you out. Like I will get mad at you. Like I'm trying to say it in a proper way now, but I I don't have the energy for it anymore.
I get it. So let's go back to something lighter. Are you looking forward to Loki second season?
Yes and no, because the direction of Marvel right now is just so messy. I really don't like. I need them to kind of shape it out a little bit more, and I feel like Loki isn't gonna help with that. So, like, yes and no. Like, yes, because I feel like it's gonna be a great show, but I feel like it's gonna make me madder than what I am right now. Secret Invasion added nothing to Marvel to me.
No. And the quantum realm,
Mm-hmm.
eh, did it add? I mean, and then you have the whole problem with, and I don't remember the actor's name or the character's name because I'm not that much of a geek about it, but
And Jonathan Majors, yeah, I know.
yeah, he's been taken out. So we're gonna
So he's not out.
recast.
He's still in.
Is he? Okay. Because I
Yeah.
know there was talk that he was gonna be out.
Because
But
he had like the whole court thing, but he's still in Loki, and they confirmed he is like set to return in another movie. So you keep the ball rolling. Even if they did recast him, my whole gripe with like Quantum Realm was I love Paul Rudd.
mm-hmm.
I feel like he should have either got killed or something. It's no like they shouldn't have beat him. Kang in the comic books is like ridiculously powerful, and there's no reason he should have got beat that easy.
Except most likely the test audience didn't like the original ending of the movie.
I
It, okay,
I'm a gripe, but
we'll switch to a different movie. The last Shazam movie.
that was one of those movies where it's like, what was the point?
Yeah.
It didn't really add anything or keep the ball rolling with anything.
You tossed in Wonder Woman there. That was about it.
Yeah, but I feel like that was like a fan service, but it really wasn't like a payoff because I don't feel like anybody cares about Gal Gadot in DC. I feel like she holds no weight. I feel like it's all, and not even to be. I feel like it might come across misogynistic or whatever. I feel like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill are the real people that people should cater to. Like, hey, we need these guys to stay, and I'm okay with Henry Cavill being replaced. I really wish I seen more Ben Affleck, but I'm okay with them both being replaced. But Gal Gadot, to me, is a really bad actress. So I just wasn't on board with, like she's still gonna be a part of the future of DC.
See, I heard she
And her
wasn't. I heard that the rumors that she is saying that there's going to be a Wonder Woman 3 are not
yeah.
true. That they're not true.
Oh well she said it. So I assume to
No, the executives actually have come back and said that's not true.
well, I am grateful because she is just so stale. I mean, I don't know. I'm not on board. But her as a cameo, it was cute. It was okay. But Shazam to me was such a disconnect. It's like the young actor to Zachary Levi was such a weird mix. It's like they kept trying to have an emotional part to it, but he was just so childish. So it's kind of like you would have this emotional scene, and then he would morph into Shazam and make everything a joke. Where like you're the same person.
Yeah.
So it was a big disconnect throughout the entire movie. Even the writing, I just I wasn't
I
on board.
I like Zachary Levy because I used to watch
I
him in
do
Chuck.
too.
I loved him in Chuck. I thought Chuck was a great show. It was just fun entertainment. And I enjoyed the first Shazam movie. Now
I did too.
I'm going to age myself. See, I grew up back in the 70s with the Shazam ISIS hour, live TV half hour show together. You know, each character had its own half hour show. So I grew up
Hmm.
with the Shazam ISIS hour, which was a total disconnect from the movies because there was not a lot of humor. They played it straight, played it totally
I
straight.
I didn't see. I've seen some of the episodes of like the old Wonder Woman show. So I don't know. I'm not too big into the older shows. I didn't get into DC and Marvel and superhero stuff until late. So all the older stuff, it's kind of hit or miss with me. The first Shazam movie was really good. I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chuck. I was really enjoying it. I tried to watch it maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. I got like 2 seasons in, and my girlfriend was like, their whole like talking about the relationship, like Chuck, like their whole relationship goes nowhere. Last episode, he doesn't remember anything, and when she said that, it is kind of like, what's the point of watching the show?
Yeah. I mean, that was the payoff at the very end of Chuck was not there, and it ticked me off. That's the one thing. It there's one thing about when shows end. You know, you get the
Mm-hmm.
show that actually you get your ending, or you get the canceled season. And sometimes, like when they did Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, the show was
Mm-hmm.
pretty good, and then they just canceled it. So we had no we had to fill in the blanks. But when they actually know a show is going to end, and then like with Chuck, they don't give you the proper ending and he doesn't remember anything. It's kind of like, oh, and sorry for spoilers, guys, if you haven't seen it. Um, but it's just one of those things where it's like you disappointed. The originals, they could have had this great opportunity because everybody wanted this couple together and she was already gone. So when Elijah died, they should have had them reunite just for a scene. They could have taken another scene and had them dancing or whatever. But no, no, we didn't give the fans that. We gave them
I
nothing.
think so many shows that they just disrespected fans, like King of the Hill, that could have did a better ending. Um, My Name is Earl, that got canceled, and they did like a build up that led nowhere. But the biggest thing that made me mad was a show called Snowfall. I threw a tantrum. I was so mad. The guy that recommended that show to me, I called him to fuss. I was so mad. I spent like 2 weeks binge watching the show, and then it just didn't. It like it threw everything away. I got so mad. But then there's other shows like Ted Lasso that had a really beautiful ending where you really feel like this was for the best. You know, it was great. So it's I had a roller coaster every year because of last episode because I did a lot of binge watching.
That's the one. I mean, I am very good. I binge watch, but I don't binge watch. I don't sit there and watch like from morning to night. I don't do that. I'll watch maybe one, maybe two episodes in a day. If I'm really slack, maybe five. But most of the time, I'll watch one episode and then the next day I'll watch another. I don't do
No,
those
I don't have a
marathon
life.
binge. I don't
No,
have a life.
I make it my whole life until the show's going off. Snowfall was anytime I have free time, anywhere I'm at, I'm watching this show. This is all that there is for me. I'll cut it off like if I know I'm about to go to sleep, I'll put on something I've seen before, like a comfort show. But no, I binged all the way through that.
I right now I'm binging Rabbit Hole.
I don't think
Oh,
I know that.
I know what show I'd ask you about. Have you seen Twisted Metal?
I couldn't get into it.
Really?
I do not like Anthony Mackie in that part.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, man. I'm an awful person to watch shows. I feel like he's trying too hard to play a character that's not him, so it feels weird watching him.
Or is it because you've seen him as the Falcon for so many years?
No, because I knew him way before the
Okay.
Falcon. I know everything else, but I feel like he's usually a lot cooler than that, and I feel like he's trying to play like Ryan Reynolds in Twisted Metal.
Okay, I can kind of see that. I watched the
Whereas
whole thing.
like my mom did too. She really enjoyed it, and I tried, but it's just like it just wasn't hitting for me. But again, I wasn't on the Twisted Metal like the video game, and a lot of people who who played the video game that I've talked to, they enjoyed it. I'm the only person I know that didn't enjoy the show. Me and my girlfriend. Everybody else I've talked to really enjoyed it.
Did you watch Poker Face?
I like Poker Face.
Poker.
She's one of my crushes. I love her.
It was a good show, and it's like I can't wait till they bring back another season. Which with the strike, with the writer's strike, I mean, I agree the writers and actors should strike, but we don't know when we're going to get more TV. That's when it's going to start getting interesting.
Poker Face, if it comes back as the same show, I won't watch it. Where it's like a different thing every episode. That I don't know, man. I'm awful. I hate to step on shows, but yeah.
No, I mean
if
that's
I notice something like I notice a pattern, I'm out.
Well, that's the thing though. Some of these shows are very pattern driven. I just finished the remake of True Lies, the television show.
Yeah, I watched bits and pieces of it.
It's better to watch bits and pieces. It's been canceled, so you didn't miss anything. I don't
Well,
think
I grew up on that guy, so I really liked him. So I watched it for him.
I don't think they had chemistry.
I agree.
I think that was really the biggest part is they didn't have chemistry. And when you're stepping into a role, I mean that's a big role to step into. You're stepping into a role of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis. And I understand we're breaking up casting. I get that. And I appreciated that Tom Arnold was in it. They did bring him in. So that was pretty funny. But I don't think they had the chemistry. And I think that's what really was. And the kids were more annoying than anything.
Kids in TV shows are so annoying now because they have this like, you should have told me whole thing where it's like they act like they're adults or something. And they're like, you should have told me. They run off and try to do their own thing. And I get it's to drive the story, but it makes like, for me, it's like really unrealistic.
Yeah, because I mean, if I would have looked at my mom, and granted, this is different times, if I would have looked at my mother and said, you should have told me at the age of 15 or 16 years old, I would have been grounded from everything I had and most likely smacked.
I might not have been here. I might not be here anymore. She would have caught a whole case.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like, so, but is it unrealistic? Because I mean, I have seen kids in stores that are just as obnoxious.
Yeah. I had a kid, when we had our meet the teacher night, this lady brought her youngest son, he's still in elementary school. He threw his shoe at the assistant principal, and she just grabbed the shoe and was like, and grabbed and like walked away. And like I've seen kids fussing at their parents, and we have a lot of kids like last year they cursed so much that we didn't do anything about it because it was just so much. Now everything's a lot different. We're a lot more strict, but kids will admit they don't talk to us the same way they talk to their parents. Like they always admit they're way worse on their parents
Why do you think that is?
because there'll be a consequence with us.
Well, and I
Like
think
we'll give them like silent lunch or something. We'll give them like ISS.
maybe that's part of the reason why. I mean, your mom, obviously, there was consequences. My mom, there was obviously consequences. When there's no consequences, and I mean, I know kids need to be able to think and voice their own opinion. They should be allowed to do that. I get that. But in the same token, if there's no consequence for their action, are they learning how life works?
I agree.
And I know somebody's going
I
to come
have.
down on me for this shit, but that's
I mean, I have a kid today. Um, he's new to my class. Like I'm new to working with him, but I'm familiar with him, and I never paid attention to his grades. And he's like doing nothing. And not to bag on him, but he really cannot read in certain stuff, and he's a sixth grader. I have a full understanding of everybody has their own process, but like when he tells me like his parents don't like enforce him to do homework and stuff, and he's failing so hard, he has a hard time reading and stuff, but he goes home and plays all these video games, and he's always playing video games, and he when he does try to like when we try to push him to do work on his laptop, he sneaks and plays other games, and he has no sense of what a consequence is. It's kind of like you're stunting their growth. He's not going to be able to thrive as an adult because you're just cakewalking him through life. So
my
I have my gripes with it, but I mean, maybe there's a benefit that I just don't see.
my brother-in-law. They adopted a child, and the kid loved video games. And so when he was in high school, even junior high, if Call of Duty was coming out, they would keep him home from school, go to Best Buy at midnight, pick up the game, and let him stay up all night and miss school the next day to play this video game. So
Yeah,
fast forward to a certain point, he's gonna get a guitar for his birthday or whatever. But he decides to skip school completely and go down to Navy Pier without telling anybody, and he gets picked up by the cops. So he comes home, he gets brought home. Guess what he still got for his birthday?
the
He still got the
guitar.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, for Christmas, I was digging in my mom's closet in fourth grade, and because somebody told me that certain people weren't real, in case any kids are listening. Certain people weren't real, so I went digging and I found everything, and I went back to school and told a girl, and my teacher overheard. My teacher knew my mom, and she called my mom and told my mom. And so for Christmas, all I got in my stocking was a wallet, a Hallmark wallet with Snoopy on it, that had a penny and a note that says "Next time, believe." I didn't get my stuff for weeks.
I
For
was the
weeks.
kind of opposite. My mom, they did like a fake Christmas, like a fake Santa thing once, and then never again. Like she told us directly, and that was it. Like we never really experienced that side of it. So I didn't get that. But I did get stuff held out. Like I was one that was always getting like my phone or like video games taken. It would be some kind of consequence. But like kids now, like the parents now are just a different breed. We just expelled the girl. This was like my expulsion. Like me getting her in trouble this time is what got her expelled. And they had me write a statement, and I felt so bad because she needs to be in trouble. But I didn't believe she needs to be kicked out of school, like go to alternative school. But that's what they're doing, and I really feel bad about it. But at the same time, she's not getting no kind of trouble at home. Like there's a video that they're digging into now because she was on live taking shots with her mom smoking weed. I teach
Wow.
at a middle school. At a middle school, she's an
Wow.
eighth grade, and it's like so crazy. Like I even got in that. I got to the office and started trying to lie. Like, you know what? Maybe I didn't hear this, and maybe yada yada. And I kept trying to change stuff, but the administrator she was working with looked at me and was just like, "No, like it's done. Like, don't try to back out of it. This is what's happening." And that was like 2 weeks ago. She came to me yesterday to finalize paperwork, and I was like, "I really feel bad." She was like, "You gonna make me feel bad, but this is like the best thing that happened to her. Like, this is." They need something.
Well, I was going to say, if mom is doing that with her, chances are Child Protective Services is going to get involved, which I
Mm-hmm.
know they're overwhelmed, but the chance is she may end up somewhere else where somebody actually gives a flying flip.
Yeah.
And that could be a life-saving thing. So sometimes what may seem like the worst thing in the world, I hate this statement. I really freaking hate this statement. Your rejection is your protection.
Yeah.
So maybe putting the brakes on this actually ends up benefiting her.
That's how I'm trying to look at it. I don't know. I hate how attached I have gotten to this school and like me working there, but a lot of the kids go through stuff and it's good to
It's
help
good.
in ways that I can.
Well, it's also good to have somebody that they know that cares about them, because let's be honest. In today's day and age, a lot of parents don't have the time to care because some of them work in two jobs. Some of them are trying to
Mm-hmm.
have a damn social life besides working a job and trying to have a relationship. And where does the kid fit in? And so
Yeah.
if a kid knows that somebody can, and I'm speaking kind of from experience, if a kid has somebody that actually cares about them and shows them attention and can actually be real with them, then that's a gift. That's a gift. It's the same thing with working with foster kids. They need to know that somebody cares about them. They need to know that somebody cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's how I'm trying to look at it.
you have to look at it that way. So you're gonna have some new music come out eventually,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am. Cringe.
No, I
It's
have so many
no,
people that
come
are
on.
fussing at me about that. I'm trying to.
No, let me say something. I get it. I get it, especially because yeah, technically I am of that age almost. So I get it. And I would say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir to people still, even though I am of a certain age.
I say it to the
So
kids. I say it to everybody. I say it to absolutely everybody.
if you grow up in the South, you better be on it. Otherwise, you're gonna get in trouble if you're
Exactly.
not. I remember saying what to my mother, and she about lost her shit on me. What did you say? Ma'am, that's what I meant. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you're just really busy all the time, and I appreciate that you took the time out of your schedule to sit down with me and catch up.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so.
So, any parting words you want to add, or anything you want to say?
Hopefully by the time this comes out, I'm already in rotation. But I think I'm pushing for about 17 weeks of new songs, and it might grow as we're going. I might come up with new stuff, but I'm gonna do a song a week. I'm trying. And for right now, we're looking at about 16, 17 weeks.
Okay,
So it might be more, it might be less, but I'm going for it. So new music is coming. A lot of new stuff is coming.
awesome, awesome. Well, I thank you for hanging out. So, Servon and I, as always, we have a good conversation. And I think Servon has, this is one of the things I talked about in the opening episode of the show, is that I wanted to go back and revisit some people and see how their journey has changed. And as you can tell, Servon's journey has changed a lot. Music at the time was his forefront. It was everything. He was counting how many listens he had, how many plays he had. And he came to realize that there was more to life, that there was more to his happiness than chasing those numbers. So maybe music is not his main passion now, but he's still putting new music out. And there should be some music now, since this is delayed after we taped it. There should be music out coming, if not right now, very soon. So make sure you're checking him out. And if you know somebody that wants to be on the show, or that would be a perfect fit for the show, or as I said in the first episode, one of our guests from the past that you really would like me to go back and revisit, please let me know. You can reach me at Dauna, DAUNA.com. Whoops, Dauna. Yes, it's a little late. Dauna, DAUNA at better2podcast.com. Yes, I just let out the Better 2 podcast. Anyway, so I think that you guys hopefully are liking the new season. And, you know, when you look at the big picture, just keep trying to follow what you're passionate about. That's one thing that was talked about in the first episode, and I'm reiterating that now. Follow your passion and follow what makes you feel good. Because if you're chasing something that just seems like it's never going to happen or it's unattainable, sit with it. Sit with it and see if it's really, really what you want. Because if it is, then go for it. But if it's straining you and stressing you out and making you feel like this isn't right, then let it go. And that's okay if you do. So on that note, I hope you have a great day, great evening, whenever you're listening. And as I said, if you know somebody who wants to be on the show, just drop me an email. As always, the sound is done by Rich Zai from Third Year Audio, and we appreciate his help greatly. So anyway, guys, take care, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. The Better 2 podcast is mixed, edited, and produced by Rich Zai of Third Year Audio Productions.